In all things the infant queen was most gracious, perfect, and admirable. Though she passed her infancy subject to the common laws of nature, yet this did not hinder the influx of grace. During her sleep, her interior acts of love and all other exercises of her faculties which were not dependent on the exterior senses were never interrupted. This special privilege is possible also in other creatures, if the divine power confers it on them. But it is certain that in regard to her whom he had chosen as his mother and the queen of all creation, he extended this special favor beyond all previous or subsequent measure in other creatures, and beyond the conception of any created mind. God spoke to Samuel and to other saints and prophets in their sleep, and to many he sent mysterious dreams or visions, for to his omnipotence it is easy to enlighten the mind during the inactivity of the senses in natural sleep, or during their ravishment in ecstasy. They cease to act in the one as well as in the other, and without their activity the soul hears, accepts, and transacts the things of the spirit. This was the rule which the queen followed from the moment of her conception till now and for all eternity. For the activity of grace in her during her pilgrimage through life was not intermittent, like in other creatures. When she was alone, or when she was laid to sleep, which was in her most moderate, she was engaged in the contemplation of the mysteries and the excellencies of the Most High, and in the enjoyment of the divine visions and the conversation of His Majesty. Her intercourse with the angels was likewise very frequent, and in the following chapter something will be said of the manner of their manifestation and of some of their eminent perfections. My Queen and Heavenly Lady, if without being offended thou wilt, as a kind mother, listen to my ignorant talk, I will ask of thy kindness the solution of some doubts which have occurred to me in this chapter. If my ignorance and boldness should transgress the limits, instead of answering me, my mistress, correct me with maternal mercy. My doubt is, whether in this thy infancy thou didst feel the necessities and hunger which, according to the natural order, children do feel. And if thou didst feel them, how didst thou suffer these annoying inconveniences? And how didst thou ask for the nourishment and the other help necessary, since thou wast so wonderfully patient that thou wouldst not make use of tears, which serve other infants as speech and words? I am also ignorant whether the hardships of that age were not most irksome to thy majesty, such as to have thy virginal body clothed and unclothed, as infants are, to be fed with the food of other children, and to undergo the other experiences of that age. For other children undergo them bereft of reason, while nothing was concealed from thee, O Lady. When I look upon thee as a child in age, and yet as grown up in thy capacity of judging of things, it seems to me almost impossible that there should have been no inconveniences in this matter, in the time or in the measure, or in other circumstances regarding the treatment allotted to thee during thy infant life. Thy celestial prudence taught thee to preserve dignity and composure, yet thou didst not intimate the wants and needs of thy age and condition, either by crying as an infant or by word of mouth as one grown up. Thus they could not know thy needs and could not treat thee as one endowed with reason, for even thy mother could not know all these things, nor could she provide for all that was necessary, since she knew not the time nor the manner of serving thy majesty in all things. All these considerations excite my admiration and arouse in me the desire of knowing the mysteries thus concealed. Answer and instruction of the Queen of Heaven. My daughter, since thou art full of wonder, I will inform thee in all kindness. It is true that I was in possession of grace and of the use of reason from the first instant of my conception, as I have so often shown thee. I underwent the hardships of infancy as other children, and I was reared and treated as others of the same condition. I felt hunger, thirst, sleepiness, and other infirmities of the body, and as a daughter of Adam, I was subject to these accidental necessities. For it was just that I should imitate my most holy Son, who subjected himself to these hardships and defects, in order that he might merit so much the more, and in order that he might be an example to the rest of mortals for their imitation. As I was governed by divine grace, I made use of eating and sleeping in moderation, allowing myself less than others, and only so much as was proper for the augmentation and the preservation of my life and health. Disorder in these things is not only against virtue, but against the well-being of nature itself, which is invaded and ravaged by it. On account of my exquisite composition, I was affected by hunger and thirst more painfully than other children, and the want of nourishment was more dangerous to me. But if it was given to me at unseasonable times or in excess, I bore it with patience until by some befitting sign I could manifest my needs. I felt less the want of sleep on account of the opportunity which it furnished me for the presence and the heavenly conversation of the angels. That I was bound and wrapped in clothes was not painful to me, but it was a cause of much joy, for I understood by divine light that the incarnate Lord was to suffer a most cruel death and was to be bound most shamefully. Whenever I was alone during my childhood, I placed myself in the form of a cross, praying in imitation of him, for I knew that my beloved was to die in that position, although I did not know then that the crucified was to be my son. In all the difficulties which I underwent after I was born into the world, I was resigned and contented, for I never lost sight of one consideration, which I desire thee always to keep in mind. It is this, that thou ponder in thy heart and in thy soul the truths which I saw, so that thou mayest form a correct judgment of all things, giving to each that esteem and value which is its due. In regard to this, the children of Adam are ordinarily full of error and blindness, but I desire that thou, my daughter, share it not with them.